We want to be the leader where advice is delivered. And as you think about how our firm has evolved, this is really about being there for advisors and helping them where they are in their practices. And we're agnostic of platform, affiliation level. We're really trying to help support advice and be the leader in that category.
When LPL Financial decides to acquire a fintech firm, they expect it to have an outsourced effect on the more than 17,000 advisors using their ClientWorks platform. So when they announced their recent purchase of portfolio rebalancing and trading software provider Blaze Portfolio, we wanted to know why they selected it and how it fits into their strategic plans. I spoke with Rob Petman and Gary Karai about the pure play trading tools that were available, secular investment trends driving the market, LPL's process for making build versus buy decisions, and a whole lot more on this episode of the Wealth Management Today podcast. It's another fantastic day in the wonderful world of wealth tech. Welcome to episode 71 of the Wealth Management Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, and I run a consulting firm called Ezra Group. We're experts in everything related to wealth tech. We deliver growth-oriented solutions to banks, broker-dealers, asset managers, RIA aggregators, as well as their wealth tech providers through our premium advice and targeted market research. On this podcast, I speak with some of the smartest people in the industry who are on the leading edge of technology and innovation. And please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and share this across your social media networks. Now here we go with this episode. And I'm happy to welcome to the program our guests for this episode. And we have two guests. We have from LPL Financial, Rob Petman, Head of Wealth Management Solutions. Say hi, Rob.
Hello.
And,
good to be here.
Hey, great to see you, Rob. And we also have Gary Karai, Head of Strategic Partners. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Craig.
Guys, so glad you can make it on such short notice. I know you're super busy, but what we want to talk about today is the announcement you just made about the acquisition of Blaze Portfolio rebalancing, trading, fintech firm. Cool stuff, cool technology. Always excited to hear what you guys are buying and what you're doing. So let's just jump right into it. Can you guys tell us why Blaze? Why'd you pick them?
I'll tee off, Gary, and certainly feel free to layer in. I think just getting back to sort of what problems are we trying to solve and what's the strategy. Maybe I'll start there and then I'll work into how we arrived at Blaze. As we've seen, there's the macro trends. Certainly, advisors are moving from the brokerage business to advisory business. That is the model that is growing out into the future. And most recently, I think if I were to point at a problem, I think we have a lot of recency bias given the events of this year. When let's just picture this: you're a financial advisor, you're sitting in an environment or a market with tremendous market volatility. And you have a large book of business, and you are looking to serve your customers in the most effective way possible. And there are two sets of practices out there. There's a practice out there that was running bespoke models for each individual investor, and there are practices out there that had a narrower focus on a concentrated set of models that they were employing, whether they are either from a third party or ones that they've created themselves. And as you look at those two different cases, one office had a very, very difficult time because it's tough to truly understand what's in every portfolio and make swift decisions and service your clients when they're calling in with a lot of concern about what's happening in the marketplace. And in the other case, when you're very close to what is actually, how those portfolios are positioned, and you're able to make moves at a macro level and have conversations with clients who are calling in very freely because you're very close to those, you're able to be a much more nimbler in the way that you approach solving for some of those problems, some of those concerns, whether you're telling them about what's happening and how they're positioned, or if you're making large moves in the way that you're overly invested. One office fared better than the other. And as we look to the future and how wealth management is evolving, we're seeing the practice management of a models-based practice pull through. Now, in order to actually effectuate something like that and create that ability to have this faster implementation time and to be able to create better results for investors, the underlying technology that supports that is obviously a trading system that's embedded in one of these platforms. Now, we've done a lot of work on our advisory platforms in the past. So, historically, we've talked about what we've done with model wealth portfolios and advisor sleeve, where they're creating models themselves and they're outsourcing trading to LPL. What we're talking about here with this technology is a different scenario whereby we're actually empowering advisors to efficiently create their own models in our Rep as PM platform, or they could actually in the future elect to use third-party models, but maintain the total trading control within that construct. So as you think about the evolution of wealth management, the problems that we're trying to solve, certainly helping to make managing money easier for advisors, being able to freely and openly and quickly adopt models-based practices and having the supporting technology that actually enables that. That's what we're really trying to do. And then as you get to the second part of your question, why Blaze? That's all in the selection process. So as you sort of, we have a process before, we've utilized it before the advisory world. For us, it's best to evaluate what it is that we're actually searching for and go out into the market and go get it versus waiting for the investment banking process of someone to just put a portfolio company on your lap. We'd much rather go out there, see what's available from what we're searching for, actually approach those companies and bring them in. So Blaze is actually one of those scenarios there, just like advisory world, where we were proactive in knowing exactly what we were looking for and went out to go get it.
Yeah, I would just say that was really complete, Rob. I think we do believe there's a secular trend towards models-based portfolios and advisors running models-based practices. And I think you get asked the question of, hey, is trading a commodity or is it a differentiator? In years past, you could probably argue that it was more of a commodity. But I think as the need for more personalized advice has become more common, and the need in increasingly how a trading system can help an advisor personalize that advice with tactical changes, strategic changes, how tax efficiency plays into the advice and the value add that an advisor offers, how things like customization around ESG are a factor in there. All of that lead to technology really being that gateway application to how an advisor expresses their advice to their clients. So where it may have been a commodity in the past, we think it's a strategic differentiator, and it's the reason, quite honestly, that it was important for us to buy and not rent.
Yeah, and and LPL has a history of doing that, as you mentioned with the advisory world acquisition, which I thought was a great move. I mean, I've known those guys for a while, and I've known Bryson and his team at Blaze Portfolio for a while. In fact, I was surprised that they weren't acquired a while ago. They were able to stay as independent for so long. And there aren't many pure play trading tools out there, as you mentioned. So, what was it about the need for a pure play trading tool as opposed to maybe some sort of a hybrid that made you go after this type of technology?
Yeah, why don't I start? It's a good question. I think and you're right. I mean, there was a time that there were only pure play trading tools. And then as the industry evolved over the last 10 years, those firms created other adjacent applications to build more of an end-to-end platform. And many of them built great businesses and they're good firms. I think the issue for us is that we have a lot of those capabilities already, those adjacent capabilities. But what we needed was something more strategic around trading and rebalancing and order management system. And, when you look at the marketplace, you want to buy what you need and maybe not buy things that are redundant or overlapping with existing technology. So you're right. There are only a few that are what I consider single application trading and rebalancing firms as opposed to end-to-end systems. And what's attractive about what Bryson has done at Blaze is they've really built a really robust system that includes not just trading and rebalancing, but an order management system. And I think they're maybe the only one in that category that has that, with all of the capabilities around tax efficiency and optimization and household-based and multi-custody that were important to us. So So we were thrilled on how that all evolved, and to have Bryson as part of the team, and that technology is, sort of accelerating our capability in this area. And they may not be as known as some of the others that had been acquired by larger firms, and probably why they're more recognized. But in terms of functionality and capability, we found them to be sort of at the top of the list.
And if I could just add to, Gary mentioned the practical consideration of, seeking to acquire the function of what it is that you're truly searching for versus having purchasing also overlapping capabilities that you might not have a need for. And obviously that might, inflate the price of what you're looking to acquire. I think we've also learned some lessons and just seen some examples too of, in cases where you do have these sort of fully compiled bundles, sometimes it can be really, really hard to separate out some of the pieces. They might not break off or break away as cleanly as you think that they might. So you may actually encounter some integration challenges that occur along the way. And as we think about some of our needs and what we're trying to accomplish, obviously this is a large firm. We want to make sure that we're able to do something and also be able to invest in it such that we can do it at scale. That's really another consideration that sort of lends itself to a little bit more favorably within the context of something that's a pure play versus something that's packaged.
Good points. I want to take a break from this episode to talk about one of my favorite charities. It's the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation, which is a charity that amplifies the efforts of financial advisors who give back to their communities and communities abroad. Invest in Others provides a platform for financial advisors, their employees, and their firms to increase awareness, visibility, and funding for their favorite nonprofits. Over the past 14 years, Invest in Others has given more than $3 million to 300 plus charities across a variety of causes, including health and wellness, education and youth programs, arts and culture, hunger and poverty prevention, and military, veterans, and more. For more information, please visit investinothers.org. Follow them on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and please make a donation and check if your company will match your donations. You'll double the benefit. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. When you mentioned something you mentioned earlier about Gary said the secular trend towards models, and then Robbie mentioned that you support multiple models, not models, but multiple ways for advisors to access your systems and multiple ways for advisors to run their businesses. They could outsource their trading to LPL, or they can run as a rep as PM and maintain the trading control. So between those differences, how does Blaze fit in to those versus how the rep as PM guy's doing it now, and how will Blaze help them or improve the way they're working?
So our rep as PM, we have a trading system available right now in our rep as PM platform. That will continue to be available. This will come in as a complement to that, and will help advisors understand, how the technology works and other things. They may find that the technology that we install with Blaze is much easier to use. As we think about this from an integration perspective, we're integrating it with this goal in mind, and the focus on the ease of which somebody can adopt a models-based practice. And again, that being either in the context of them creating their own models or outsourcing. This is not about a firm agenda that's trying to have advisors outsource models. It's actually more about the practice management consideration that helps advisors service their clients more effectively. So that's really how that comes together in both of those platforms. And as you think about this is a key part in the overall link of the overall ecosystem. We mentioned before the advisory world case, and that, the proposal generation component of this. We have that linked to new account opening, being able to transfer that logic all the way through to a trading system to carry out those models is another really great capability where we can actually string this thing all the way through to completion.
Yeah, I remember I was at your conference last year when we used to have conferences. And, I was sitting down with the advisor world guys that will show me how it's different now, because you already had it. Like, it was already available on your platform. And he showed me how much better it was, how tightly integrated it was, how it was seamless. You can move models back and forth, and it was great. So I imagine you'll be doing the same thing with Blaze and be able to plug it in so that it's a seamless part of the advisor experience on your platform.
Yep. I'd say even thematically, right, as you think about that, we just envision a place where, I mean, we call it right now Model Hub, but this is a place where advisors can create models or choose models, and then they have the option to either push those to any platform they want. If they want to go about conducting the trading themselves, we'll have an option for that. If they want to outsource the trading to LPL, we'll have an option for that. I mean, our model is built around choice in general and trying to meet advisors where they are and how they choose to run their practice. And this is really just another extension and complement to that.
Excellent. Was Blaze Portfolio in your affinity program of approved vendors?
Yeah, but Blaze is somebody that we've been tracking through our reviews in the affinity program. It didn't get to a level of integration, but we were familiar with them as we were familiar with all of the trading and rebalancing firms. So that's we as we wanted to go out proactively and look for a buy opportunity. The marketplace was a fairly narrow field of firms to evaluate, and we were familiar with Blaze from that early review.
Excellent. So you guys have a large technology force, a large technology team there, hundreds of people all building software and integrating software. Why not just build this yourself? Why go out and buy it?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it gets into the framework that Rob talked about, our strategic framework for how we evaluate those decisions. You want to partner with those firms and applications where that they're important, but it may not be strategic, right? You want to develop in areas where, and just as an example, we did that with CRM. We've done that with our client goals. We've partnered with a firm. You want to buy where you do think it's strategic, and certainly Blaze is an example of that. In an advisory role not too long ago, again, that's helping convert prospects to clients, and we felt that was strategically important, and why we made that move. So then it's where do you develop, and you really develop where there isn't anything out there that's compelling and it's need to do it yourself. And ClientWorks is an example of that. So ClientWorks, as Rob mentioned, is the advisor workstation. It's really what plugs into other applications, either that we have embedded in ClientWorks or we're partnering with from a third party basis. So that's an area we're going to continue to evolve that as we have over many years to be that dominant workstation. And that's an area that we'll continue to develop. But it all goes as part of that framework for how we make that decision.
Yep. And I'll add to just with the background there. I'd add to just with the macro considerations that we want to be the leader where advice is delivered. Right? You think about our strategy. And certainly one of the qualities that I would hope somebody would be looking at a leading RIA custodian would be enabling models-based practices in an efficient and compelling way at its core. So we have a speed to market component there, given the opportunity and what's happening in the market.
Very good. Some of the things I like about the Blaze Portfolio functionality stack, besides the fact that it's optimized, it's built on top of an order management system with real-time pricing and intraday trading, which is very different than how many advisors trade. Maybe they trade on a batch, or they're trading through a TAMP. It's batched up and traded twice a day. So were you getting calls for this type of functionality from your advisor base?
We were getting requests for access to this type of household type rebalancing system with greater tax efficiency and ability to, as models became more prominent. No question that was part of it. And I do think real-time trading, it's, I think we all saw that in the industry in March and April with when the pandemic hit and the need for that. So there's no question. I wouldn't say that this was in a reaction to that as much as it was a strategic capability that we've known that we've needed now for a while, and very fortunate that this all progressed with Brayson and Blaze.
I would just add to, just like from the big picture perspective, we've been getting the calls, but it's not necessarily specific to one thing. It's more around the problem, saying, hey, I understand what you're saying about models-based practices. I want to go about implementing that, and I'm having trouble. And I need a better, more effective way to go about doing that. So even as you look at how we integrate and how we bring this to fruition, There's components of innovation and perspective that we're pulling through based upon the feedback of our customers to make that a reality, because we're really trying to make sure that how this comes together is really directed at solving that problem.
That makes sense. Some of the other areas that I think are interesting with the rebalance are security equivalence, their household management seems to be pretty good, and tax management. How are you guys handling tax management across your platform? Is that something you're focusing on? Is this something that advisors are asking for more tax management, especially with the markets fluctuating now?
Yeah, there's no question. I think tax, and Blaze's capabilities around tax management was a big component, a big factor in how we evaluated them, to be honest. I think historically, and they offer household level rebalancing, something they call location optimization. And increasingly, this is becoming a much bigger value add for advisors. And, historically, I think the industry looked at it on an account basis, in a more of a product level solution than a technology solution. You can certainly solve for things like UMA, but that's in a single account, a unified managed account. The idea of having household trading and rebalancing with tax efficiency across that household that's location centric, what registration dictates maybe the different type of investment strategy and that notion of a level of proactive loss harvesting. I know a mentor of mine that always makes the comment that they're really the only free lunch left in this industry is proactive tax management. And it's if you do it right, and many advisors don't. I think many advisors don't, quite honestly, because they don't have the technology to do it. But if you do it right, now you're able to add value regardless of what happens in the marketplace, regardless of what happens with individual investments. You're able to show a level of tax efficiency that, net of everything else, that advisor's adding value through how they're offering that advice to their clients. So tax efficiency is a significant deal, I think, in the marketplace, but definitely how we evaluated this particular technology and how we think of it more globally, providing that level of functionality for our advisors.
Very good. And there's a big difference in how trading tools are designed. I know we were talking about this earlier as well. Can you talk about the difference between institutional trading tools and advisor trading tools? Because you have the scale, right? You're the biggest IBD in the market. 17,000 advisors. Anything you put out there has to scale. So how do you approach that when you're looking at tools that are designed for advisors versus tools that are designed for institutions?
Yeah, I think if you go back and you just look at how some of these things evolved, certainly this whole API marketplace and infrastructure hasn't been around forever, right? And that's been an enabling factor for a number of these different companies on which they've been able to create these types of solutions and businesses. But before that, you have large firms, platforms that are acquiring technology with the certainly scale requirements. And typically what happened through those considerations is you end up with technology that's built with the large firm in mind and their needs for scale, and not necessarily focused specifically on the financial advisor. And as you look at the sort of wave of innovation in fintech that we've had, and what APIs and custodian integrations have really facilitated, you have tech companies that are creating solutions, with the RIA in mind as their customer, and creating great experiences and functionality and ways in which to manipulate the technology. And they don't get to feed their families unless RIAs pay them money for that technology, which means that it has to work for them in that use case, in a very specific way. And that type of performance pressure and tension isn't on those large firms. So because of those two different models, you end up seeing, especially in this bifurcation, that you have this whole element of REA experience and use cases coming out through those firms. And that's what we really found attractive as we started thinking through how we were going to help advisors with adoption and solve their problems. It was really starting with technology that was specifically targeted in consideration of REAs versus technology that was just built to solve large firm problems.
I would just add to that, on one end of the spectrum, the institutional trading firms, highly functional but not highly personal. Then you have the other side of the kind of the more advisor-friendly trading systems, highly personal, not as scalable. And I think our opportunity is to combine the two. Take a highly personalized application like Blaze, and what LPL does really well is create scale inside of that technology for the benefit of any advisor up and down the elevator in terms of advisor size and client focus. And that's our opportunity.
So let me ask you a question about one of the most important aspects of any acquisition, which is culture. So how do you evaluate an acquisition or a small firm that you're looking at buying it, and whether their culture will fit into LPL?
Yeah, no, I think it's, most people, when you talk about acquisition, you end up talking about the capability and the technology and how it accelerates what you want to do strategically. But I think equally important, if not more important, is the talent and the fit and the culture of the folks that lead the business, or really throughout the business, and how we could work with them collaboratively, and how that, quite honestly, accelerates our development, maybe even beyond the intended, the acquisition at hand. I mean, that's what we found in other capabilities like this, is that you acquire the capability, you're fortunate to keep and retain and develop the talent that provides value to you even beyond the firm that they were running. And that's a significant benefit. Again, it probably more important than the technology itself.
That's awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. It's been a really super informative episode, and I think everyone's really going to like it. And congratulations on the acquisition. Looking forward to hearing big things from that technology as you deploy it and scale it up, and it gets to roll out to all your advisors. Thanks so much for being here.
Great. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Hey, it's Craig again. My takeaways from this episode. Secular trends toward model-based delivery portfolios was part of the driver behind the acquisition of LPL's acquisition of Blaze portfolio. That they felt they couldn't build their own trading tool with the same power and capabilities in a reasonable amount of time, and decided that speed to market was the most important aspect in this case. So that says a lot about what their advisors are looking for, how there's still a significant number of advisors who are doing their own trading and are needing the powerful tools that Blaze can provide, and the importance of these key features like tax management and household level rebalancing that these features play in advisors' decision-making process, and about which broker-dealer platform to affiliate with. So I'd like to hear what you got out of it. Please let me know. Drop me a line on Twitter at Craig Iskowitz, or post a comment on the blog. Let me know what you felt was the most important aspect of this podcast and what you got out of it, and what other guests you'd like us to interview. Please let us know. And with that, I'll sign off for this week. I'll see you all again next time.